Hi, my name's Ailsa and welcome to We Are Wool People. On this channel I'm going to talk about my knitting, sometimes my crochet and a bit of travel maybe. I've got a few yarn festivals coming up in the next couple of months, so it might be fun to see some of those. Thank you for joining me today for a bit of a knit and a bit of a chat about some of my current work in progress. And some things I'm excited to finish, some things I'm not excited to finish, some things I might not even finish, and a couple of brand new cast-ons. So let's get into it then. I think what I might start with is what I'm wearing. This is the Heatwave Tee from a designer called I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll link it in the bio. This top is a top-down t-shirt, as you can see, and I knitted it in Rowan All Seasons cotton, which is a really lovely mercerized cotton. I bought it at the Wool Inn in Penrith, and I can't remember when. I knitted it last summer based on a newsletter that Skane Sisters in Dulwich Hill sent on a Friday that had a different kind of cotton, but they said make this t-shirt out of this cotton, and I fell in love with it immediately. It's a great pattern because in the pattern it's actually a bundle where you get the tee, the tank and a cardigan all in one when you buy the one pattern. Anyway, I knitted it a couple of years ago when I was down the coast, and it's just the perfect top, I think, for the Australian kind of summer. It is quite sheer at the top, so you do have to wear like a crop top kind of bra under it, but that doesn't worry me. It's all right. It's not sheer in this part, so that part's all right. It's just up the top, but you do need to, just be careful of your undergarments if you're conscious of that kind of thing. But yeah, so this is the Heatwave Tee, and actually the one in the pattern is black, and I really quite like it in black. I get quite a lot of comments when I wear this top, I've noticed, from non-knitters and knitters alike. And non-knitters are always very surprised when I say, oh, I made this, and they go, oh, did you? Anyway, I'm sure you will experience that if you are a wool person like me. Yeah, so this is the Heatwave Tee. The next thing I think I'll talk about is what I'm knitting. I actually, about 5 minutes ago, tried to have a look to see how it was going size-wise, and I found that it was really curling quite a lot, so I steamed it with a handheld steamer that I got in Kmart. Anyway, so I took a video of that because it was quite interesting. I unfortunately haven't got that much to show you about what it was like before, but the steaming really brought out, flattened it and brought out the size. I was really worried earlier today that this was going to be too small, but it isn't. It's going to be great. Very excited about it actually. This pattern is called the Paul sweater, and let me just grab my iPad, excuse me. It's the Paul sweater, and it's by Marika Knit, or Morka Knit, Marika Knit. Let's just say Marika Knit. It's really interesting jumper. It's made using a saddle shoulder. So what you do is you cast on across this little tiny bit across the back using a provisional cast on, and you knit one saddle there, that way. Then you knit another one exactly the same, and you 3 needle bind off down the middle, which gives you the 2 saddles. You then pick up along the back seam here, do a few short rows, and then carry on down. And then in the front, you pick up along each shoulder across the front of the saddle, do some shaping for your V-neck, do some shaping for your armhole. There are a few short rows in there too, I think, to create the V-neck. And then that gives you the V shape, and then a little bit more increasing here to give you more of the depth in the armhole, join in the middle, add a few stitches across the armhole width and knit down. I actually am really pleased with the progress on this because it's Wednesday now, and I only started this on Saturday, I think. It's knitting up really fast. I'm knitting it in a combination of merino and mohair, and it's a silk mohair blend. It's not the Rowan Kid Silk Haze. It's actually another brand that I'll link in the bio. It's very, very similar to Kid Silk Haze, along with a yarn that I bought from Stash. So I'm really happy about that because I really want to work on knitting more Stash this year, and have a low acquisition philosophy, not a no acquisition philosophy, but a low acquisition philosophy. Anyway, this yarn that I've just made a terrible mess of, let's pretend that didn't happen, is a merino yarn that I got in Japan in 2019, before COVID, before the lockdown, and I bought it at Amarisu, and I'm going to say Amarisu in Kyoto. I'm pretty sure it was Kyoto and not Tokyo. But having said that, let's say it was Kyoto. I'm sure it was. So, and I've also just noticed that these two here are very different in colour. I was hoping not to have to do any kind of yarn management in terms of colour, but I think I am going to have to start introducing this darker one in a bit of a random way. But we'll talk about that more when I have done it. I think I'll put some helical knitting in. So this is coming along really well. I absolutely love it. It's the Paul sweater. It's a really lovely classic knit. Interestingly, it only has 40 projects on Ravelry, but if you search them all and if you sort them by favourites, most favourites, I just think every single one of them is really lovely. The detail is really considered. The amount of ease is really nice. It's nice and loose. It's got a very classic silhouette. The drape in it is lovely. Every single one of the projects looks fantastic. And the other interesting thing is that there's only 40 projects on Ravelry, so it's not really that popular on Ravelry, but on Instagram it's very popular, and the Instagram ones are phenomenal. Now there's 9 million members of Ravelry, so I'd hazard a guess to say that almost all Instagram knitters are also on Ravelry, but they're not using it as the resource or the way that they are going to get their patterns seen or promoted. I think that Ravelry for a lot of Instagram knitters is just a bit of an afterthought, to be honest, and that is a shame. I guess, is it? I don't know. It's just, I think, the natural progression of things. Problem with Ravelry, in my opinion, is that it's so ugly, and even though it is an unbelievable resource of knitting and crochet patterns, it just looks like a dropped pie. Anyway, that's my hot take on Ravelry. You don't have to agree with me, and as a matter of fact, I welcome it if you don't. Let me show you one that I'm not excited to finish. As a matter of fact, I'm probably not going to finish it. I have had this on the needles since a long time ago. Actually, since COVID the first week that we came out of lockdown in November 2021, I suppose. This is my version of Andrea Mowry's Shifty. Let me just put it on. Then you can see what's wrong with it. I've actually taken a separate shot that I'll put up in the corner. It is enormous. And I knitted it while I was on a really long road trip to Lightning Ridge a couple of years ago. And so I didn't really pay that much attention to the size of it as I was knitting it. I just kept going. It's knitted in a yarn from RAVELRY called Marmel, which means marble. And I remember that I was knitting it on my way and while I was in Lightning Ridge looking at opals. So I thought that was quite apropos that I was knitting on a yarn called Marble when I was looking at rocks in the ground in Lightning Ridge with my father. My grandparents were actually opal miners, well, my grandfather was an opal miner rather, and we spent a fair bit of time in Lightning Ridge as children, and we went up there for school holidays and things like that. And when I wanted to take him back there now that he's getting a little bit older, so that that he could remember it, and it had changed so much since when we were there. I mean, last time I was there was probably the 70s. Anyway, I digress. This is the Shifty sweater, Andrea Mowry's pattern in RAVELRY Marmel, which is not the recommended yarn. The recommended yarn is spin cycle dyed in the wool. Who can afford that? So this was a more economical option, and it's too big. However, I really like it. I really like the way that it's got a rustic kind of coziness about it. I like how the colours work together. The yarn itself, if I can put my little hand on one of them, is it's a variegated self-striping kind of yarn. It's made with like a filament of rayon in it and cotton, and it's got a really interesting texture to the yarn, and also the pattern is also got a really interesting texture. And in spite of the fact that, well, I knitted this one at the original version of the pattern, which had some issues. If you have a look at some of the projects and the more the helpful projects descriptions on Ravelry, you'll see what some of the issues were with this original pattern. First of all, it was notoriously massive. In the pattern, there is actually a seam straight down the centre back that I don't know how they managed to disguise it in the original version of the pattern, because, I would doubt that many people would have noticed that. But that's okay, you can move it to under the arm. I'm actually not going to knit this again. I am going to rip it back, and I am going to knit a different mosaic colourwork jumper with it. And I think I might knit the one that Andrea Mowry has got out at the moment. But in the meantime, this is a whip that I'm not excited to finish. And in fact, I'm not going to finish it. So that's the second one there. This one, it's really beautiful. Are you ready? However, and I am going to finish it, I promise. What this is, it's called the Bloom Your Heart Out shawl by Ina Sang. And I saw this online as a kit when I was looking at the La Bien Amie website. And I didn't buy it as a kit because of the prohibitive expense of buying the La Bien Amie cashmerino, because that's what the pattern is made in. Having said that, I did buy something that is very luxurious to make this pattern with. I spent many months after having the pattern in my favourites, and I think I might have even bought the pattern in advance, but I spent many months considering what I was going to make this in, because it's such a feminine, pretty pattern, and because I was so in love with it, I wanted to make it with something that was quite luxurious. And I think I came across the perfect thing. I'm just going to lean forward and show you. So, this is a fade from an Australian dyer called Circus Tonic, who have their yarn in yarn stores all over the world. I remember seeing a wall of it when I was in Japan last year, at Walnut in Tokyo, a whole wall of Circus Tonic. It was really quite lovely to see that the Australian dyer have a whole wall in a very glamorous, world-renowned knitting shop. Anyway, this is silk merino, 50% superwash merino and 50% silk in a sport weight yarn. It's called Reunion Merino Silk Sport, and it's in a fade bundle that is called 34 degrees south. And the reason it's called 34 degrees south, isn't it lovely? Yes, it's beautiful. I liked it so much I actually bought one to knit with and one just to look at. But it's called 34 degrees south because, from my understanding, this yarn comes from South Australia, and where South Australia is on the globe is the same latitude as Buenos Aires, where Joji Locatelli comes from. And Joji Locatelli used this yarn for one of her samples of her boxy fade cardigan, very popular on Ravelry, which is a really nice story. I didn't make the boxy fade cardigan, and I probably won't because I don't really like it that much. So, but I did really, really like the idea of this yarn, the name of it, and the colour of it. So I got some. That was a while ago too, I might add. This pattern is gorgeous. It really is beautiful. It starts off with a coloured simple fan repeat that starts in the corner, increases along one side of the spine and increases every second row and keeps increasing and increasing and increasing until you get to the point where where you've stripe in the second colour, and the second colour is striped in then with a slightly, oh no, it's the same, isn't it? The same fan repeat until you get into a solid repeat of a more complicated fan stitch, and then this magnificent lace repeat. And can you see that it is actually a bunch of flowers? Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, don't look at that one. It's beautiful. I really love it. And it's a lot of fun to knit. And in fact, these repeats are actually really great to knit from the chart, and I've really been enjoying it. So if I've been enjoying it so much, why haven't I finished it? Well, there are a lot of repeats across here, and it's actually, I took a video that I'll put up in the corner, but it's actually, again, enormous. It's huge, and I've still got a long way to go. I think that I've got how many? I've got 1, 2, 3 repeats of the bunches of flowers done. I think there's 5, and then you move into a transition phase where you do start to reduce the number of stitches and come down towards the end. So I'm more than halfway, but it's really slow going at the moment. And I did put it down to do some more kind of instant gratification projects, and I haven't picked it up again. And the other reason I guess I'm not really keen to pick it up is that I don't know if I'm actually a shawl wearer. There you go, there's another hot take while I'm here. I make them because I'm a real process knitter. I really enjoy knitting, and if the truth be known, I don't wear a lot of things that I do make. And so I think this might be another one. I'll probably give it away, to be honest. I'll probably give it to maybe my mother, or I have this beautiful friend in Queensland who's very appreciative of my knitting, and I frequently, and maybe she might like this for winter. She lives in Brisbane. It's probably not going to be warm enough for it, but I think she's a bit of a wrap wearer, and I might end up giving it to her. But we'll see how we go. I am going to finish this winter. I've got a few trips coming up, yarny trips. I'm going to the Bendigo Sheep and Wool Show in July, and there's actually a yarn show in Canberra in a couple of weeks' time that I'm also going to. There's Fiberfest and a few other weekends away where I'll have an opportunity to get away from the humdrum domestic duties and just knit with friends for weekends at a time. Although it's not really friend chatty knitting, it's more kind of chew your tongue and concentrate on the chart knitting. But this is the Inner Sang Bloom Your Heart Out shawl, and look at those black flowers. Aren't they just, oh God, they're beautiful. All right, so that's that one. Now, I've got one more. Oh, I've got a few more. I have to show you something. I can't believe that I've been this lucky, to be honest with you. I have got a family event coming up in a couple of weeks' time. It's my aunt's 80th birthday. And a lot of us, like the extended family, we're going to spend a weekend in the rocks. And my family come from the country. They are coming in from the Riverina, and there's quite a few of us going, quite a few generations, and it's going to be lovely. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, I bought to wear this gorgeous blouse. Let me show you this beautiful silk blouse. And I wasn't sure how I was going to wear it or how I was going to style it, but I will say I bought it because it was on sale, and it was still expensive for even though it was on sale, but it's a classic silk blouse that I feel is something that I'm going to have for years and years and years. It's very special, and I really, really love it. And it's a raw silk, and it's this beautiful colour. It's a little bit hard to tell because I'm losing the light here, but it's a sea green blue. It's kind of green, but then it's kind of blue. And it's coming up a little bit lighter here than what it really is. It's actually more blue than what it looks in this light. Anyway, it's really lovely. It's got quite deep splits here. It's got a masculine style. It's quite oversized. Anyway, look at this. Can you believe it? That is an amazing match. So this is the 100% lyocell Naibu yarn, mongrel to knit with. It just splits and it's awful. This says sustainable stitching. Are Lion Brand trying to greenwash us here? I don't know. Well, I imagine they probably are. The eco-friendly production of lyocell, a fabric made from plants, leads the fibre industry in terms of energy and water conservation. I like it. It's approved by Knitted Knockers. Well, that's good to know as well. Oh, soft, comfortable knit prosthetics for breast cancer survivors. Oh, so it's soft and comfortable and appropriate for knitting knockers for breast cancer survivors. That's good. Anyway, it's 100% lyocell, but look at the colour match. Let's go back to that. Look at the colour match. It's unbelievable. I am so happy. And what I am making with this is and I really have to get this finished in the next couple of weeks because my event is the first weekend of April, the 8th of April. So I've only got a couple of weeks to get cracking on that. And what I'm making is this guy. This is Sari Nordland's Roselund vest. And just look at it with this blouse. Doesn't that look great? And I cannot wait. I really need to be working on, and probably not that Paul jumper. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Bit of a challenging pattern. When I finish it, we'll talk about it more in detail. But how lovely is it? So I need to get onto that, to wear that for my auntie's 80th. So, onto that. Now, one last thing to talk about before I go, because I'm nearly at half an hour, is I have got an object that I don't know if it's finished or not. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think? Do you think it's finished? Should I add sleeves? Should I not add sleeves? Let me show you. This jumper is called Tino. And the Tino jumper, I'll just look on Ravelry, has got 3 projects on Ravelry in 8 queues. Now, I totally copied this from the sample that they have on display at the Wool Inn in Penrith. And this is the picture of that. And I hope Anita won't mind me saying, but it's not a good picture either. So there's the one that Anita's got on display at the Wool Inn in Penrith. Now, if you saw this jumper on her, it's beautiful. It looks fantastic, and it's got, again, really nice drape. The colour is this same colour. It's a lovely aqua blue, you know, like an eau de Nil kind of colour, a colour I really, really love. And what I did notice about it, and this is something that Anita from the Wool Inn also said, is that it looks really good with cows. And a lot of the cows that have been knitted last winter, and some of the wraps and sort of the neckwear that was knitted in mosaic knitting, the Shifty pattern had a wrap that was knitted in mosaic knitting. Looks really great against this Tweedy yarn. So I bought the yarn, and she said to me, you'll only need 3 balls. And she's right. I've got a full ball left over, ready for the sleeves. So I could actually, so this is only 2 balls so far. It's made out of the Jody Long Alba is the name of the yarn. And it's a dupe for Rowan Felted Tweed. Fibre composition identical, gauge identical, colours very similar. I did notice when I was knitting this though that the tweedy bits kind of fell off as I was knitting them. Not all of them, but some of them. And I don't recall that being a feature of felted tweed, which is one of my favourite yarns. Anyway, let's have a look. Is this finished? You tell me, you help me decide. Here it is. It's got great shaping down the sides. This is unblocked, so it's still a bit wobbly looking. It's got great shaping down the sides. Can you see that? It's really clever the way that that's actually constructed. It's got a garter, a 3-stitch garter stitch pattern all the way down the centre of the front and the centre of the back. and a small ribbed neck. The sleeve finishing is actually quite good, which is excellent because I'm thinking about not putting sleeves on it. Let me put it on and show you. So I might just, at the risk of getting a big mess here, I might just push this back. Yeah, okay, so you can see, I just might push it back a little bit more. You can see my messy studio. But let me come back. Okay, you can see what's happening here. It's kind of loose and it's kind of you know, oversized. It's a reasonable length. I quite like it, and I think that I could probably get away with wearing it if I just finished the sleeves off and wore it with, obviously not with a knitted t-shirt, but with something long sleeved, more of a masculine trouser, and maybe even a blazer over the top. I'm actually really obsessed with sleeveless things for as we're coming into autumn in Australia. So what do you reckon? Should I put the sleeves on it, or should I just leave it as it is? Oh look, it's got split up the back too, which again, I like. I don't know. I haven't decided. So if you're watching this, let me know what you think. Should I put sleeves on it, or should I leave it? Don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to bring this guy back now. Put my head back in the shot. Blurring primer doesn't really work. Anyway, so here it is, and you can see great colour. Something that if you wore with a, so you know, something obviously something long sleeved under it, or a button down. So that is the first episode of We Are Wool People. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, then I'd really love it if you could give the video a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of these videos once a week. That's my plan. And next week, I'm going to do a pattern rundown of what I would like to knit over the winter. It seems to me that all the knitting YouTubers that I'm talking to, I'm not talking to any of them, that I'm watching on YouTube now, they're all looking at summer knits, and everybody's looking at what they're going to knit as they're moving into the warmer months, whereas here we are in the Southern Hemisphere moving into the colder months, and we've all got our mind, and I've got my mind on what winter woolies we're going to be knitting. So next week I might do a pattern rundown. And I'm off to a yarn festival called the Great Australian Yarn Show, and it's the first one that they've had. It's in called that, you know, this is the inaugural event of the Great Australian Yarn Show. It's a great name, and it's on in Canberra, and it's on in a couple of weeks' time. I'm heading up there with my knitting friend Donna and our husbands. The four of us are going. Some of the people from the Knitters Guild group that I go to in Wollongong are also going. We're going to meet up there, and there's probably going to be quite a few thousand other people who I don't know going to be up there too. It's in Canberra that weekend, and I'm also going to go to black wattle alpacas, and that is a treat in itself. I'm probably going to go back to the Clonakilla wine cellar door in Murrumbateman, another treat in itself. And we're spending the night in Canberra on the lake in Kingston, so that should be good. I'll get some footage from there as well. So that's what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Thank you for joining us on We Are Wool People, and I'll see you again. Bye.